Welcome to day 1485 of What You Up to Now. Grin and bear it was our idiom for supersize your business today. So I used my little teddy bear. And then we also talked about psychic energy vampires. So I put a little vampire mouth on him for this one to talk about our emotional topic for today was energy, psychic, emotional vampires for our annual challenge, the BU 365 day challenge. Today we talked about how do you know if you've been or come in contact with a energy vampire? How do you identify what are characteristics of energy vampires? And then what to do about it? How can you protect yourself? What do you do when you know that somebody in your life, either work or home or relatives, family or friends, isn't really very good for you? They zap your energy. They take your energy. They live on sucking the life out of you and sucking the energy out of you. So we talked about 5 ways to identify 5 signs that you've been impacted, and then 10 characteristics of an energy vampire or a psychic vampire or whatever you call them. People that, we all have people that we're around that we feel good being around, and we also have people that we're around that just make us feel terrible. And those people that make us feel terrible are usually those that we probably should minimize our time and attention toward. Unless, of course, they're, your kids. You need to deal with those and deal with the functional and dysfunctional in all relationships. So Grin and bear it was our idiom for supersize your business. And I shared a couple of stories about things that we have to grin and bear, things we have to put up with, things that we deal with. I mean, before 2020, maybe there were people that didn't have to put up with anything that wasn't 100% perfect and awesome for them. But the vast majority of us, even prior to 2020, have had experiences where we have to accept something that we don't necessarily 100% agree with, but we don't really have a choice. I mean, if you work in a corporation or if you work for a job or if you have a boss, for the most part, you need to do what they tell you to do and what they expect you to do if you want to keep a job and get paid. The COVID stuff that's come down the pipe, I'm sure we could write a couple of novels or books about that. The stuff that people have had to grin and bear. The masks. I don't know about you, but I am not a fan of masks. I used to make them for Minnesota Mining and Manufacturing, 3M. So I have an intimate knowledge of masks and effectiveness and all kinds of things. And what does work and what doesn't work. Not a fan for the face covering. Definitely not a fan of my 5 and 6-year-old granddaughter wearing a mask all day long at school. And she's already been vaccinated. So come on, people, what the heck? As parents and as kids, all of us were kids once upon a time. There were things we had to do because our parents told us we had to do them. We had to do our homework. We had to go to school. We had to do our chores around the house based on the relationship. Sometimes you just had to grin and bear it. You knew if you wanted dessert, you had to eat your dinner. If you wanted to go out and play, you had to help with the chores before you got to go out and play in the evening. And we talked a little bit about the importance of diversity in our organizations, especially in our corporate organizations. I grew up in corporate America when women were still pretty much a novelty. I worked in a big corporation where I was the only woman manager. Actually, there were 3 women in the entire plant. One was a receptionist. One was me, in charge, the youngest leader of a department in that industry that there'd ever been, and the only woman that had ever been. And there was one that worked in one of the departments. There was one woman that actually worked on the floor. Everybody else in the entire organization with 7 unions were men. And it was a very much a grin and bear it or figure out how to make it work within all these different systems type of situation. So, curious today. It's a snow day for the kids, so I wish I had my granddaughter again today, but I don't. So what is something that you have to grin and bear? What's something that you feel like you have to just put up with no matter what? And have you ever, and do you currently have people in your life that are energy vampires or psychic vampires? I will say right out loud, my ex-husband was an energy vampire. Maybe not to other people, but he was totally an energy vampire to me. I've had friends and family members that are and still are energy vampires. What do? I minimize my time and my exposure with them. I actually shield and protect myself and brace myself and psychologically prepare myself for any interaction with them so that I know that I'm not going to be affected and impacted by their behavior. We each get to own our own behavior and be responsible for our own behavior. And I can only control my own behavior. Much as I'd like to control other people in the world, I can only control me and my choices and my decisions and my actions. I can influence and try to help other people, but some people might see that as being an energy vampire. Some people might think coaches and consultants are energy vampires. I don't know. Anyway, that is it for today. Go out, make it an awesome day. I have some catching up to do because I was hanging with the granddaughters yesterday. If I can help you in any way, ask. Otherwise, I'll be with you tomorrow with another interesting idiom. What does it mean? Where does it come from? Another share of what we're doing in the annual challenge. Again, you can always join the annual challenge for free by going to the Sharon Horne-Ellstrom page or joining the Get Up and Go challenge. I've rolled the Get Up and Go challenge from the last 2 years, the 30-day free challenge, into this year's annual challenge. And we're just once a month on the topic or on the subject of choice, the area of life. We're using the life framework for the first 9 months of the year because I have 9 areas in my life framework. I don't know what other people use. Everybody's different. Not everybody, but it's one that I adopted from, the early gurus, Tony Robbins, like 4 decades ago. So I've just used it because it served me really well. So if it isn't broken, why change it? I don't believe in changing it if it's not broken. And that's how we are with everything. We do things until they don't serve us anymore, and then we change and grow. All right. Have an awesome day. See you tomorrow.